are going to be singing to you right now, and I want to especially thank 3 people who are not UUs who joined us today to sing with us. Peggy Faden, Carol Voker, and Dot Dake. We know that Dake name pretty well.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, neighbors all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And let it begin with me.
Good morning and welcome to the Unity. Oh, we didn't have a name. Please come up, Mike. No, that's okay.
Good morning again. My name is Mike Frankum, and I serve on your Fellowship Board of Directors. We'd like to welcome you today and extend a special welcome to any visitors who are with us today. Please join us after the meeting in the fireside room here, and there's a visitors table, and if you'd like, you can sign our virtual guest book at uufames.org/guestbook. Whether joining us from home or here in Fellowship Hall, we invite you to stay and enjoy some time with us. There is a lot going on at the Fellowship right now. If you haven't noticed, I think a mailer has gone out to everyone. I hope you're taking advantage of some of those opportunities. I certainly am. Also, just to mention, the Fellowship Board will be calling around and asking you for your recommendations for who should serve on the committee that will decide on our new minister. And so have your phones ready. We'll be calling. And I'm looking forward to having some nice conversations with you all. Now, on behalf of this caring, nurturing congregation, I welcome each and every one of you to this sacred space. Here we invite you into an experience of transformation, hope, renewal, and connections, which may inspire you to understand life in new ways. Thanks for joining us today.
We have a special announcement today. We have a new child care assistant joining us, Caitlin Copry. You can welcome her.
Our opening words this morning are from Reverend Mark Bellatini. Let my body remember. Let my hands and feet remember. Let my breath remember those who have come before me, those who have come before us. Didn't Muhammad wait quietly in his cave? And didn't Jesus sigh silently by the blue lake? And Kuan Yin, didn't she sit in silence, thinking about what to do before doing it? And what was Siddhartha the Buddha doing anyway under that tree, if not just sitting quietly? And Susan B. Anthony, didn't she push back from her desk and take a breath now and then? And Florence Nightingale, didn't she put down her nurse's hat and think silently about what to write in her essay on mysticism before she actually wrote it? And Sophia Foz, didn't she stop telling stories and just sit there? And didn't Black Elk just notice the sunlight glancing off his chair sometime? And Starhawk, does she only talk and write, or does she too keep silence? Let us remember them all with our bodies. Let us remember them with the silence that they too knew. And our chalice lighting is from Deborah Falk. A chalice lit in our midst is the symbol of our liberal faith. A faith built on the foundations of freedom, reason, and welcome. A faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice. A faith that envisions a world flourishing with equality for all people. A faith that demands the living out of goodness. A faith that requires thoughtfulness. A faith of wholeness. This tiny flame is the symbol of the spark of all this within each one of us. Please rise now in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing.
Praise.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Riley, and I am our RE helper. So today actually is also Lunar New Year, and so in celebration of that, we have chosen our book in respect to that. And our book today is The Nian Monster. And I'm sorry if I mispronounce anything. I'm bad at reading, but all right. 3 days before Chinese New Year, Shanghai was alive with color and sound. Jingling and her grandmother hung the last of the decorations. Popo, Jingling des, why are they all red? There is no blue, no pink, no purple. Long ago, Popo said, the Nian monster lived in the mountains. His jaws were as wide as caverns. His teeth were sharper than swords, and he was filled with a terrible hunger. Each New Year, Nian ate whole villagers. Jingling gasped. What happened to him? Every monster has a weakness, Nian had it. 3 loud sounds, fire, and the color red. Our traditions have kept Nian away ever since. Popo smiled. Now I must go buy more noodles. Watch the casserole for me. In the kitchen, Jingling lifted the lid and stirred the pot. The aroma of pork and cabbage wafted out the window. Tong tong. There on the balcony crouched a horrible beast. That should have been louder probably. Tong tong. There on the balcony crouched a horrible beast. His jaws were as wide as caverns. His teeth were sharper than swords. Ayah! Jingling cried. Nian has returned. I have come to devour this city, growled Nian. He stretched his wide, wicked jaws and roared. All the buildings in Shanghai shook. Jingling pointed to the city below. We have red banners, lanterns, gongs, and drums. Why aren't you scared? Pah, the monster spat. That was thousands of years ago. Those old tricks don't frighten me anymore. I am starving. He licked his lips. You will make a tasty appetizer. Wait! Jingling scanned the kitchen. Have a bowl of long life noodles first. If you live longer, you can conquer more cities. Kind of a betraying move. Nian stroked one of his pointy horns. You are a wise little one. Noodles first, then you, then the city. Good. Wait for me in the park. Nian leaped down to People's Square and paced around the fountain. Jingling ran to the best noodle shop in Shanghai. She asked the head chef to prepare a special dish just for Nian. All day, the chefs mixed and kneaded and pulled. Finally, they pushed the giant bowl in front of Nian. Nian slurped and slurped and slurped. My stomach is too stuffed to eat more, he groaned. The chefs had made only one noodle, just one, the longest noodle in China. Nian belched. I will devour the city tomorrow. The next day, Nian glared down from the Jinmiao Tower and stretched his wide, wicked jaws. Wait, Jingling yelled. Eat fish first, so you will have good fortune all year long. Nian flicked his forked tail. You are wise, little one. Fish first, then you, then the city. Good. Wait for me by the river. Nian bounded over to the Oriental Pearl Tower and circled the largest globe. Jingling ran to the best fishing fleet in Shanghai. She asked the captain to catch a special kind of fish just for Nian. All day, the fishermen baited and hooked and scaled. Finally, they rowed the fish across the Hongpu River to Nian. Nian gulped and gulped and gulped. The fish bones pricked and poked. My throat is too sore to eat more, he croaked. The fishermen had only caught one kind of fish, milkfish, the boniest fish in the sea. Nian coughed. I will devour the city tomorrow. In the morning, Nian prowled through the yew garden and stretched his wide, wicked jaws. Wait, said Jingling. Tonight is New Year's Eve. You need some rice cake to sweeten your future. Nian gnashed his jagged teeth. You are wise, little one. Rice cake first, then you, then the city. Good. Wait for me at the tea house. Nian stalked across the zigzag bridge to the Hushting tea house. Jingling ran home for the best rice cake in Shanghai. She asked Popo to make a special rice cake just for Nian. All day, the grandmother stirred and steamed and fried. Finally, they rolled the enormous rice cake to Nian. He looks really pleased. Nian chewed and chewed and chewed. The rice cake clung to his rows of sharp teeth. Nian's wide and wicked jaws were stuck fast. The grandmothers had used only glutinous rice flour, the stickiest kind. So sticky it had been used to build the Great Wall. Nian rolled one monstrous yellow eye. He muttered. Yes, Jingling said. You can devour the city tomorrow. But first, fireworks. We must send out the old year so we can welcome in the new one. Jingling took Nian to the best place to see fireworks in Shanghai, the Bund. She asked the fireworks master to put on a special show just for Nian. She gave Nian the seat of honor. Sit here and watch. 8 dancing dragons slid out from the crowd. They dipped and twisted and spun around Nian. At the midnight bell, the dragon dancers stopped and bowed. The fireworks master held a match to the thick fuse. Goodbye, old year, Jingling waved. Goodbye, Nian! Nian thrashed his mane and lashed his tail, but he couldn't stretch those wide, wicked jaws to blow out the flame. Billy Pala, Nian's and the chair blasted into the air. The fireworks makers had built a spectacular firecracker. So spectacular, it was a rocket. Nian's claw tore a hole in the fabric of the sky. Just before he shot through, Nian shouted, I'll be back next year. Good, Jingling said. You haven't tried my dumplings yet. And that is the end. Now, if you will all help in singing the children off to their classes, thank you.
Will you join me now in a time of prayer and meditation? And our meditation this morning comes from Andrew Boyd with an epigraph from Viktor Frankl. What is to give light must endure burning. Many of us have set out on the path of enlightenment. We long for a release of selfhood in some kind of mystical union with all things. But that moment of epiphany, when we finally see the whole pattern and sense our place in the cosmic web, can be a crushing experience from which we never fully recover. Compassion, suffering with, hurts. When you feel connected to everything, you also feel responsible for everything. And you cannot turn away. Your destiny is bound with the destiny of others. You must either learn to carry the universe or be crushed by it. You must grow strong enough to love the world, yet empty enough to sit down at the same table with its worst horrors. To seek enlightenment is to seek annihilation, rebirth, and the taking up of burdens. You must come prepared to touch and be touched by each and everything. And our thought for the day is, I am one with the universe, and it hurts.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, and a spiritual community where we find meaning. Our joys are amplified and our sorrows are lessened by being together. This is a time each week where we share our milestones with each other. First, we'll do Fellowship Hall. If you would like to share something, come to the microphone over there, state your name, and share what's on your mind. After that, we'll have a moment of silence while we transfer the tech to our Zoom followers. Sorrows that are too personal to us to share. May we all find strength in our community. I'm going to spend a moment in silence. This reading is an excerpt from Testimony, the Transformative Power of Unitarian Universalism by the Reverend Meg Riley. Amy and I are taking it in turns, but it is one person's voice. When I was growing up as a Unitarian Universalist kid, my aunt and uncle sent my family a subscription to a magazine called Guideposts. My parents rolled their eyes and apparently never gave it a second thought, but I loved it. I would find it tossed carelessly with other discarded mail and smuggle it immediately to my bedroom to savor.
Guideposts was filled with stories of people in all kinds of trouble, people with woes, people whose lives were saved by accepting Jesus Christ as their Savior. No problem was too great for Jesus. I was less interested in Jesus, though, than I was in the lurid descriptions of accidental pregnancies, torrid love affairs, bankruptcies, lying, cheating, stealing, and all the other human struggle and strife that preceded the formulaic happy endings.
Internet research tells me that the magazine was founded by Norman Vincent Peale with the intention of helping people live positive lives. As an adult, I know it's just plain hard to be a human being and live a positive life, and I'm for anything that helps people to do that. All of us are vulnerable to illness, loss, and being hurt by people we thought we could trust. All of us do things we wish we hadn't and have things happen to us that aren't our fault. All of us disappoint the people we love and betray our own deepest values sometimes. Some of us suffer in mundane and profound ways because of systems of oppression and violence that were rigged against us long before we were born. Some of us struggle with chronic physical or emotional pain. Life is hard.
The Unitarian Universalist family I was raised in, it was a challenging one. I related to the misery of the writers in Guidepost because of the pain in my own home and my own body. I didn't know yet that everyone on the planet was struggling with something. I just knew my life was filled with problems too big to solve, pain with no avenue for healing, a family riddled with terror and rage and violence and silence. I couldn't have named the forces working against my parents and other families like us then.
In my own life, healing and transformation have not transpired in one dramatic, tear-filled experience of relinquishment. My own salvation, to the extent that it's useful to talk about personal salvation at all, has been a series of moments that have brought me closer to the person I want to be, in relationships I trust, embodying mutual values.
Truthfully, I have no interest in a faith that isn't saving people. What's the point? I know, though, that this language horrifies some Unitarian Universalists. How did Unitarian Universalism transform you, heal you, change you, help you? I'm hungry for these stories now, as I was hungry for the stories of suffering and redemption as a kid, because every day I forget that healing and redemption is possible. Every day I forget how strong love is. Every day I sink into despair about this precious planet and the greed that is choking out life. And I begin to believe that there is no way forward. Every day I need to know that I'm not alone in my struggle to return to love and to recenter myself in grace and decency. Every day I need to know that I'm part of something much bigger than myself, and that whether or not we can save each other and the planet, my tiny acts of faith matter. So yes, saying that Unitarian Universalism saves people makes many folks uncomfortable. It would make me more uncomfortable if I hadn't seen it happen over and over and experienced it myself.
We will now give and receive our offering. Please know that this morning, half of the non-pledge offering will be donated to Youth and Shelter Services Ember Campus Project. This new youth recovery campus near Cambridge will be located in a serene, nature-based setting and provide crisis stabilization, emergency shelter, and residential addiction treatment for youth. The other half of the offering will serve to support programs here in our fellowship that make this a community of transformation. We'll pass the basket here in Fellowship Hall. For those at home, you can visit uufames.org/give to give your contribution. And if you are visiting today, please know that your presence here is gift enough.
let's take a journey. People are finally getting out of their bubble.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
We could start out walking, just use our own 2 feet.
Or marching. Yeah, yeah.
I'd rather take a chariot, have somebody else pull us, it'd be easier.
No, wait a minute. The railroads created Iowa. Let's take a train.
Oh, great. Oh, all three, let's take all three. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, Lord, I want to be in that number.
Doesn't sound
When the saints go marching
We need to start over.
Cut it.
Cut. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory. Don't carry nothing but the righteous and the holy. This train is bound for glory, this train. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. Swing this train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory. Don't carry nothing but the righteous and the holy. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory. Don't carry nothing but the righteous and the holy. This train is bound for glory, this train.
Thank you, Bells of Iowa State. And good morning, Central Iowa and beyond. My name is Reverend A.J. Galazin. My pronouns are he and his, and I'm your interim minister. I want to extend a warm welcome to all of you gathered here today, both in the sanctuary and on Zoom. Wherever you are on your spiritual or ethical or questioning journey, you are welcome here. The fourth Sunday of each month, which is today, is our Social Justice Sunday, and we meet at 11:15 in room 3 downstairs, and also on a special Zoom link that you can find on the calendar on the website. UUFA members are active and involved with many programs that help the larger world, and once a month we gather to share news and ideas. Last Sunday, I mentioned that I saw a bald eagle flying over the fellowship and a goose standing on one leg. And my bird brain focus continued this week for our January theme of finding our center. This week, I witnessed the mighty migration of thousands of crows. More than just a murder of crows, it was a mega church of crows. Gathering on the trees across the street here in Pamel Woods. And they are a very noisy congregation. They're having a great time. And even after the celebration starts, more crows continue to join. Clearly, they have found their center. And I think it boils down to location, location, location. Today is the first day of the Lunar New Year, the year of the water rabbit. According to ChineseZodiac.org, the rabbit year is a time of being peaceful, patient, and calm, and making rational and strong connections. We are advised to, quote, take advantage of networking opportunities, build relationships, and even consider taking on new projects or additional responsibilities, close quote. Sounds like a plan. And speaking of new projects, as Mike mentioned, your fellowship board members will soon be calling each and every one of you to canvass your thoughts on who would best represent this congregation on the search committee for your new minister. It's a big job, and the rules say everyone must be involved in the process. So please pick up the phone when they call, or be sure to call them back at your earliest convenience. I was watching TV to check on the winter storm this week, and at the bottom of the screen, they listed many events that were canceled on Wednesday because of the snow. In Ames, St. Cecilia's face formation class was canceled. I think they probably meant to say faith formation. But just in case, to keep up with the Catholics, let's do a little face formation right now. Everyone smile as big as you can, okay? And now let's take that face formation out into the world. I may have told you that in my little town of 100 people, there are 3 churches: Catholic, Lutheran, and Russian Orthodox. And I have ties to all 3. My father was Catholic, my mother was Lutheran, and my great-grandparents, the founders of the town, were Russian Orthodox. And while these 3 faiths share a large percentage of their basic theology, they are each quite different in custom and expression. And in the days before the internet, we had a big floppy book called the Yellow Pages. My favorite section of the Yellow Pages was the churches section, with each denomination having its own subsection. And at an early age, I was fascinated by the sheer number of religious organizations. I was especially interested in all the branches and the splinter groups. Just like the crows I saw this week, I wondered, why do some people flock to that church, others to this one, when they're right next to each other? The Yellow Pages was my first guide to theological exploration. The yellow brick road that made me question where I began and where I was going. And the universality of my own Catholicism. The uncapitalized word Catholic, meaning a wide variety and all-embracing. How could any religion claim to be truly Catholic or universal? And so my random journey began. It is a journey that continues to this day. Every day I ask, what strange customs or accepted truths are celebrated in that denomination? What kind of people gather there? How do they live their lives? And who guides them along the way? I drifted to Boulder, Colorado and Berkeley, California, stayed briefly with Tibetan Buddhists and the Hare Krishnas. I meditated and chanted and wandered. I met flower children, spiritualists, and mystics. I returned to Minnesota, where I met my life partner and settled down. Eventually, my random journey brought me to the oldest church in town, founded 1859, the First Universalist Church of Minneapolis. And I can still remember the title of the first sermon I heard, Hidden Treasures. The Reverend Terry Sweetser spoke about the people we meet in our lives. Each one of them is a gift to us, but it's up to us to discover them. Unitarian Universalism had been hidden to me my whole life, even as a seeker. And when I thought the sermon couldn't get any better, he said, and never forget, within each one of you there are hidden treasures that others are searching to find. You are not only a seeker of truth, you are a source of truth. Let your life shine. You mean it's all up to me? I am a source of truth? Isn't this a random journey? My testimony could make a difference. In his fascinating book, The Democratization of American Christianity, Norman O. Hatch examines the Second Great Awakening, a time of religious revival in the United States from about 1795 to 1835, when this nation was swept up in tent meetings, fiery preachers, and testimonies of personal religious experience. Expanding Hatch's thesis beyond Protestantism to all forms of religion in the U.S., the thing that inspires me, that we might take for granted today, is that the democratic ideals of this country, one person, one vote, provided a unique creative environment that encouraged religious experimentation in a market-driven spirituality. By this I mean that every church and every denomination is in direct competition with every other church and denomination. Caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, let the parishioner beware. They say you get what you pay for, and maybe you may get what you pray for. Some churches give back more than they receive, and some may actually be set up as a pyramid scheme. And as befits a spiritual market economy, first-person testimonials are the gold standard. Word of mouth is the best advertising. What are we saying to the world? Reverend Meg Riley was my social justice professor in seminary and a well-known minister in the UU world. When Meg famously debated Jerry Falwell of the Moral Majority on CNN, she was initially described only as a lesbian activist. The next time she appeared, she wore a clerical collar, even though that is not part of our tradition, and met Falwell on his own terms. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. At our first social justice class, Reverend Meg handed us each a card with some random issue. I think I got immigrants at the border. We each had 10 minutes to put together some thoughts, and then we were on the spot. Meg played the part of the media, we were placed on the air as ethical spokespeople and representatives of a faith community. I was terrified of this exercise. I'm not quick on my feet. I need time to study, to plan, to sculpt, to practice. But somehow I sweated and mumbled myself through my time in the spotlight, more or less like everyone else. But it turned out that content was not the intent of this lesson. Reverend Meg was more interested in what each prospective minister could bring to any random situation. She wanted to know how our faith was transforming us, if it was genuine, if it promoted healing, or perish the thought if we ever thought we could save anyone, including ourselves. In our reading this morning, Reverend Meg wrote, quote, "Truthfully, I have no interest in a faith that isn't saving people." And saying that Unitarian Universalism saves people makes many folks uncomfortable. But it would make me more uncomfortable if I hadn't seen it happen over and over and experienced it myself. Close quote. As I continue my own random journey, I wonder why I am still so uncomfortable sometimes. It has taken me quite a while to be fine with just saying, I don't know where I'm going until I get there. Can you try that with me? I don't know where I'm going until I get there. I have experienced the saving grace of this liberal faith, both by sharing my own stories, but even more by listening when you come forward with yours. And to lift up one example, in Jonah's dedication speech last Sunday, she shared a tender piece of her life that gave new meaning to our Black Lives Matter banner. These transforming stories, our personal testimonies, abound within us. Please take hold of your discomfort and set your stories free. Your assignment this week, should you choose to accept it, is to ask yourself, is your life's journey informed by a systematic theology, as featured in Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, where everything from A to Z is tied up in a beautiful package? There are no loose ends, and classical structures follow well-defined rules. Or are you on a random journey, following your heart, informed by a constructive theology, as seen in Louise Nevelson's work, Sky Cathedral, where the elements of your life, your own found objects, get cobbled together, sometimes uncomfortably, but offer the possibility of finding new and deeper meanings. There are no right or wrong answers here. All journeys can offer salvation. And for extra credit, do you have a saving message? I close with one of my favorite benedictions from our hymnal, number 698 by Reverend Wayne Arneson, a Buddhist UU minister who just happens to be married to Reverend Kathleen Rollens, a Christian UU minister. Arneson writes, "Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone." May it be so, and amen. Will you rise now in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 23, Bring Many Names. Be sure to write down your favorite hymns in the lobby on your way out. There's a board there. We're taking a poll. Bring Many Names was the first hymn I ever heard in a UU church. And I thought, what kind of place is this? Strong mother God, old aching God, young growing God. And if you can imagine a pipe organ flourish on the final verse, great living God. We end this morning on a crescendo. Dear friends, our benediction comes from Colin Bosson. Let us go now in a spirit of love, never knowing when or where we may find the divine, yet conscious of the spark within each of us and the unfolding beauty that surrounds us. Let us go in peace, let us go in love, and may our lives be a blessing. May it be so.